Tonight's Where Did the Road Go deals with the subject of the apocalypse, and thus does include conversations about both religion and politics to some degree. You have been warned. This month's Where Did the Road Go is sponsored by the following awesome individuals: Greg Ross, Allison Cook, Super Inframan, 36 Dingo, and Michael Friske. Thank you so much for helping make this show possible.
Transmission start. Welcome to Where Did the Road Go? Join us as we wander off the path and explore lost history, consciousness, the paranormal, unexplained mysteries, alternative thought, and much more. We are present on the web at wheredidtheroadgo.com. Now here is your host, Soraya.
Welcome to this edition of Where Did the Road Go? And I have with me tonight again, AP Strange.
Hello.
And Barbara Fisher.
Hey, how's it going?
When I was thinking about doing this show, you two seemed like you'd be perfect for this topic. I don't know why. It was just kind of a gut feeling. But I wanted to talk about the end of the world.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
Immanentize the eschaton is what I always say.
And there's various ways I want to look at this, from religious aspects to just like doomsday predictions to things like doomsday preppers and things like that. If we'll see how far we get this and where it all goes.
Excellent.
But there was a book I had that a friend of mine had gotten me ages ago, and I started to read it and didn't like it and didn't remember why I didn't like it. But it's called Apocalypse Wow.
Oh, I never read that.
Yeah, it seems like a book I would like based on everything about it, except it's like the guy just makes stuff up and then tells you, oh, I just made all that up. Like he's talking about the panic at 999, about the calendar changing to 1,000. And he writes pages and pages of stuff, and then he's like, of course, none of that happened because most people didn't actually know what the year was or anything else, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why did you just waste my time on all this if none of this happened?
Frustrated fiction writer.
Yeah. And he keeps trying to be funny, but it's not that funny. Like if he was genuinely, picking at some of these real predictions and, making funny points about them be one thing, but he's just, I got a few chapters in, and I'm like, this is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I didn't read it then.
When did that come out?
Like 97.
All right. I was wondering if it was like just a tie-in to the Y2K hysteria that was going on at the time.
I think to some degree. I mean, I believe he mentions it at some point. I mean, that was one of the few doomsday things that had some real oomph behind it, because who knows what would happen with certain computers.
Yeah. I mean, and there were people like, oh, the nukes are going to fire themselves off on New Year's Eve and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that wasn't going to happen.
Right. But, I mean, nuclear power plants melting down because they got the wrong timing on things, that wasn't out of the question.
No, it wasn't. But, none of that stuff happened because programmers all got together and were like, screw this, we're going to fix it.
Right.
And so everybody's like, do you remember in Y2K nothing happened? It's like, okay, it wasn't averted by accident. It was a bunch of people behind the scenes fixing stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, because my friend was one of them. So it was a big thing.
They just released a movie about that as if it really happened, and it's awful. It's like it's made like a mid-90s movie, and all the computers just kind of become sentient and start killing people.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Yeah. It's not as fun as it sounds, actually.
Well, yeah.
Well, thankfully, there's no chance that can happen. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
And Fred Durst was in it.
Oh, I love Fred.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'm not a Limp Bizkit fan. He was, however, funny in this movie.
I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, when I say, that's usually a sign, but I realize you can't see my face.
So let me get it straight here. You do love Limp Bizkit.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
The new metal days that I don't miss. Anyway.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the end right there, was when Limp Bizkit came on the scene.
It was one of the signs. It's in the Bible. It's in chapter 59.3 in Le Musicus in the Old Testament. Actually, it's in the Apocrypha. It's not really in the Bible. They took it out.
Ah, that makes sense. Limp Bizkit's lawyers probably petitioned.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, I mean, there's been obviously biblical stuff with the Book of Revelation and stuff, which, if I'm not mistaken, most biblical scholars believe the Book of Revelation to be more a commentary on the political system at the time.
Yes. You have to remember what apocalypse means.
Yes. Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, this is important. Yeah.
It means revelation. It means to reveal something that is as yet hidden.
I think there's also a translation that says something like the opening of the eye or something like
yes.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And that's what revelation means too. It's like it's the revealing,
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's basically the uncovering of something or bringing to light something so that it can be seen. So you don't have to search for it. The thing about the Revelation of John is if you read it and you don't believe in biblical inerrancy, it's kind of cool. I actually love all of the imagery in it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I grew up in a state where lots and lots of people believe in biblical inerrancy. So I got to hear all kinds of nonsense about it. And it was kind of hard with me because I never believed the nonsense. I always thought that was kind of, even when I was trying really hard to be a good Christian, I never believed that was some kind of prophecy that you could make anything out of, right?
Yeah.
It was essentially useless as a prophecy because you can't make heads or tails of it. And then I got to be friends with someone whose father was getting a doctorate of theology, and he was like, oh yeah, well, the reason it doesn't make sense is because it's kind of in a code.
Yeah.
And it's kind of referring to long dead people and the political machinations in Rome and with the new Christians and all of that. And I was like, oh, well, that makes more sense. That makes way more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and even the number of the beast ended up being mistranslated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everyone still uses 666 because, well, that just sounds cool. But I mean, in the Book of Revelation, it's 616.
Yes.
And referred to what? The Roman emperor at the time, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but, try to tell people that and they
Yeah,
get all kinds of upset with you.
Look at how much of our culture has been based around that belief.
Oh, yeah.
And what does that say for like things like possessions or hauntings where you see 666 written on the wall? It's like, okay, well, that's actually not the number in Revelation. So is it just there because we believe in it?
Yes, that's it. That's it exactly. We believe it should be there, so it is there.
Yeah.
And again, the whole biblical inerrancy thing is pretty kind of ridiculous if you think about it. No, God really did make the world in 7 days. Really, 6 days, and then he rested.
Right.
I was like, so days were longer back then?
Or
right?
he could just do it instantly. He's God. Why does he need 7 days?
Well, yeah, there's that. So I used to go to the last church that I was a member of and that I went to was one of the non-denominational evangelical biblical inerrancy. We believe in revelation and everything people. And I was there because I really wanted to see somebody get overcome with the Holy Spirit and speak in tongues.
Mm.
That's all I wanted. Did I get that? No, I did not.
Of course not.
I ended up trying to stay with them and, hang out. And I just finally, it was just, I couldn't deal with it. And I left in the middle of a service because the minister said that all women who were for the Equal Rights Amendment are possessed of demons. And I was like, okay, I'm out.
The demon in you told you to leave?
Yeah, I can't with this. I can't do it. And my best friend who was the one who got me in there, because they used to be part of a church that did have all of the foot washing and speaking in tongues and laying on of hands and praying and healing and all that stuff. But then this group that she was friends with the people, they schismed off and formed their own little church.
Mm.
I should have known better. I didn't even get to see snake handling for my time. Yeah, it was sad. Actually, I'm glad about that because that really does creep me out.
Yeah.
Why?
Because rattlesnakes, I just, ugh. I mean, non-venomous snakes, okay, I can deal. But rattlesnakes, no.
I was reading something recently on rattlesnakes that said they're not particularly aggressive, but they'll defend themselves.
It's true. They're aggressive if they're hungry.
Okay.
Or if they're just coming out of hibernation, because they will get into these caves in big groups and hibernate in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of like bears when they wake up. But it has to see, the thing is it has to be warm enough for them to slither out of there. So it warms up, but then it might get cold again, and then they get really cranky.
Mm.
And that's the only time I've ever heard that they're like, I will chase you. Get away from me. And so, yeah. But as a general rule, I'm not friends with the rattlesnakes. I don't.
At least they give you a heads up usually before they attack.
True.
And that's the part that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
We're warning you. Don't be stupid.
Yeah. Don't come closer. Don't come closer.
Oh,
that's handy. But I mean, to your point about the inerrancy and everything, that's kind of the dangerous thing in today's world is the true believers that think that, apparently they missed the part, first of all, that in the Bible it says no one will know when it's going to happen.
Right.
He shall come as a thief in the night.
Right. And people think they can predict the day or that they can make it happen.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite.
Right. And that's what you have a lot of these days is people welcoming this apocalyptic scenario because they feel like they're among the chosen, so they have nothing to worry about.
Right.
That's what, they just want it to all be over because they think they're going straight to heaven when it does,
Yeah. Well, it also absolves people of responsibility.
Right.
If Jesus comes back and they bodily are taken up into heaven, well, then they don't have to worry about all the messes they've made down here on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of a, kind of catnip for people that have screwed stuff up.
Yeah. And the spiritually lazy, because it really is like a lazy shortcut,
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be doing good works here?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be the main focus?
and that's what I was going to say. It's so, in a sense, it's very anti-Christian to behave like that.
Yes, it really is. And plus, the whole idea of the rapture is non-biblical. It's not in the Bible. And growing up in West Virginia in the 70s and 80s, I don't know how many times a rumor went through the churches that, this year the rapture will come. And I'm like, first of all, guys, that's not in the Bible. Oh, yes, it is. I'm like, no, seriously, it's not. And I didn't have the internet back then to just pop up with, see, it was this 19th century guy, and he basically wrote biblical fanfic. We didn't even call it fanfic back then.
Right.
But that's basically what he did. He did biblical fanfic. He made it all up.
He had a revelation.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen. And then he changed the date. And then it didn't happen.
And then it didn't happen. And he changed the date.
Which is something you see a lot with people who make these apocalyptic prophecies. It's like, we just got the date wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the Seventh-day Adventist Church comes from, is the Millerites. That was back in the 1800s, where they were predicting the end of the world, and then the world didn't actually end, and they're like, oh wait, no, we forgot to carry the 3.
Right.
And
those damn 3s.
Yeah, every once in a while, after a while, it came to a point where there was a time called the Great Disappointment of the Millerites.
Yes.
Because they were so disappointed that the world didn't end. And a lot of them ended up leaving. But some of them stuck around, and the continued followers of Millerites eventually became the Seventh-day Adventists. And there were a couple of offshoots and things like that. And others went and joined the Quakers or the Shakers and churches like that. But yeah, it's kind of amusing when you think about it, because it's like Miller himself was a deist, and he had come to these beliefs after falling off of a wagon and landing on his head. There's a little bit of history that people don't know, but I found that out at one point. But yeah, he thought you could calculate the last day, and his followers would put on white robes and sell all their property, and then climb up in trees or get on the roof of their house and wait for ascension, basically, to be taken up. Yeah, it didn't happen then. So,
and that's not connected to the rapture thing, is it?
yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure. I guess that kind of predates the modern rapture idea.
Yeah.
But the idea was that Christ was coming back, and everybody had to be wearing white. And I think they were selling their possessions more because of that passage about how it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. So, because that was always curious to me when I was younger. It's like, why would you sell off your stuff? You're going to take the money with you, and you go.
Yeah. In essence, it's funny that you should say that as a kid. That's how I would have looked at it. I would have been like, well, but Jesus said, give away your possessions and follow me. So why don't you just give it away?
Right.
You're hedging your bets. Just in case we're wrong.
But that's got to be a real awkward moment when you're kind of like the cult leader and the world fails to end. When the prophecy fails, it's like...
And it's happened so many times. I mean, even just, I'm almost 60 years old. So even in my lifetime, it's happened so many times. Different evangelists will like jump up with this date, or that date or the other one, and it keeps not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I used to like to watch was Harold Camping. Do you remember that guy?
Vaguely.
Yeah, he came up with a new end times date like every 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
The radio, it was on radio and TV.
Yeah.
Like evangelist. Yeah. So you'd see a news article. It's like, oh, by the way, the world's coming to an end next week, according to Harold Camping. And you're like, oh, again?
Yeah.
He already said that 15 times. Why didn't it end?
And that guy died in 2013. So we never got to see the end.
Well, the world ended for him.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure this is where the disclosure movement learned its tricks of the trade.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, so disclosure is kind of the science-y version of the apocalypse, because it's going to be a revelation.
Right.
And I'm not good at people talking about disclosure around me, because I guess I'm too old to hold the giggles down. And it's not that I think they're stupid. I don't think, I'm not being mean about the people. I'm just like, guys, this has been going on forever.
Yeah.
My whole life. And before my whole life. It's always, well, they'll tell us now. They're going to tell us now. And it's just, if you don't believe the government anyway, if you think that they're hiding things from us, why are you going to believe whatever they tell you when they finally decide to tell you? Why is that hard?
Yeah. Well, because they have a specific belief system they want fulfilled.
Yeah, it's the same thing as fulfilling a prophecy.
Right. And they just string them along and make money off of them. Buy our new book, watch our new TV series, follow us on X, whatever. And it's like, all right, but nothing new has happened. It seemed to a lot of people like a big deal when the New York Times wrote a UFO article. It seems to have changed the ridicule factor just a little bit, but that was about it.
It changed the ridicule factor, and the one big admission was, okay, yeah, some of that's real.
Right.
But we don't know what it is. The government, we don't know. And okay, the fact that they admitted to anything to me is gigantic, because they had been admitting to nothing for so long.
But I think the plan behind that is more funding for space defense.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
So they're not going to tell us anything. They just want more money, as if they don't have enough already going to defense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there is kind of almost a religious fanaticism around it anyway, too. With like the disclosure advocates, where if you're critical of it or skeptical that the government is actually telling us anything new or interesting now, like you're just a hater and you're anti-disclosure and you don't want it to happen.
Or you're a disinfo agent.
And you're holding it all back.
I'm a disinfo agent, yeah.
Yeah, I've been on the payroll for whatever shadowy secret government thing is has been trying to make disclosure not happen. Yeah, according to some. People are saying AP Strange is a.
I think you should be proud of that.
Yeah.
I was proud when I finally got to be, a disinfo agent. Because before I was just a satanic witch.
Right.
And that's not as much fun.
Right. And those paychecks should be coming anytime now.
Oh, does George Soros sign them?
He might. I'm not really sure who's behind the anti-disclosure movement, but
well, he gets blamed for a lot of stuff. So yeah.
True.
I have it on good authority that a payday is coming my way.
Actually, Elvis signs the checks.
There you go.
Elvis is too busy being a folk saint now that he's dead.
Wait, he's
Elvis,
dead? He's
Elvis
not dead.
and Bigfoot are sitting in a room.
So I did clip a couple things out of this book that were slightly useful. One of the things he says is the people of the Branch Davidian sect in Waco believed the end times were already here, as neatly outlined in the Bible. They were so distraught that they chose to follow an oversexed John Lennon wannabe and a Weird Al Yankovic with a Weird Al Yankovic haircut into their own Armageddon, conveniently supplied by the government.
Yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah.
That one's like hard to joke about.
I can't make fun of that.
Because the thing is, it was a cult, but it doesn't seem like they were inherently dangerous.
Yeah, I
think that's pretty universally considered to be hugely mismanaged by the government agencies involved and lack of communication with each other.
Yeah. It was, to my mind, even if they were, responding to allegations of child abuse and weapons violations, which actually the weapons violations thing was absolutely true.
Right.
The child abuse, we don't know one way or the other because, well, all the evidence was destroyed.
Yeah.
So, I think it's reasonably safe to say there probably was, because within cults, that's usually one of the things that happens.
Yeah.
But it was so awful.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. And the kids did not ask for any of this.
Right. Well, the child abuse allegations were there, and I almost feel like those things start happening whenever you get anyone in like any real power, where they feel like they can get away with what they want.
Yeah.
Well, not that we'll probably ever know now, but look at all the people that were probably in the Epstein files.
Oh, somebody somewhere still has those.
Yeah.
What Epstein files? I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. They don't exist.
Yeah, that was kind of bold to just kind of say that after acknowledging that they had them.
Yeah. The whole thing was stupid, and well.
But I think it's that power thing. Like, you get to that level of power and you feel like you're untouchable, whether it be a cult leader or a political leader or whatever.
Yeah. Well, see, the people who are attracted to that kind of position tend to have mental health issues of some sort. They either have a sort of narcissistic personality, or they have sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies and antisocial tendencies. None of these are good things.
Right.
But the thing about narcissists that makes them dangerous is they can be very, very charming.
Yes.
Now, supposedly, our current president at some point was very, very charming. I cannot understand that myself, but that's
just some people.
Me.
He still is.
Yeah, I'm sure that he's not to me.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
I'm sure that there are people to whom he is.
Yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to say hello to the one guy that comments on every YouTube upload from this show and asks why there's so many libs on it. And
oh yeah,
my friend. Bless your heart. Bless your heart.
Well, you know what? But there isn't, because there's a mix, and there's always been a mix. And I don't consider myself I don't follow any political party. I want what's best for everyone. So I don't care what you want to call it. Like, I don't consider myself red, blue, whatever. It's just like, if someone's going to actually help us, then that's the person I want to go with.
Well, see, I find myself in the awkward position of talking about things like conjuring the Loch Ness Monster using magic, and Bugs Bunny's influence on ufology, and secret messages and Three Stooges shorts. But I'm the one that's sitting here among people saying, okay, this is all insane, right? Like, I'm on the side of sanity, ultimately. Like
Right.
I love exploring the weirdest and most absurd things, but then when I come back and I have patently insane stuff thrown my way and immoral and cruel things happening constantly, I'm against all of that. So
Yes.
whatever that is for politics, that's me.
Well,
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you want, but I
I
just don't think children should be in concentration camps.
Right, yes.
Or
That's-
dying, there's
Yeah.
a whole lot of things I believe that I think are used to not be crazy things to say.
yeah.
They call me crazy.
Yeah,
I think it's okay to punch a Nazi. I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe it's the Indiana Jones movies I grew up with. I don't, I don't think I'm nuts. I don't think I'm the one that's crazy.
no, you're not. You're not.
I mean, go ahead.
It's like, well, I mean, part of me thinks that guy who always comments probably hears my name and is just like, I can't even listen to that, because something's going to come out of my mouth.
No, because these people want to be angry. That's what I've learned about.
Well, yeah,
That's
true.
I'm a blue collar type of guy, and I work around blue collar people. And even in a blue state, allegedly, you run into these people, and they love the misery. They love the misery. They're seeking out an opportunity to complain all the time. So they'll go out of their way to watch something or listen to something that they know is going to make them angry.
I think there's a lot of people who do that on both sides.
Or on all sides. Like
Yeah.
people like the hate watch.
Yeah, yeah.
I've trained myself not to in a lot of ways. I try not to, but you're bombarded with it nowadays, whether you like it or not.
That's true.
And that's by design with a lot of these social media sites.
Well, yeah, because if you're getting angry at people making posts on the internet, you're not actually actively doing anything to fix anything.
Exactly.
And fixing things is not easy. There are no easy answers for the situations we're in because everything affects everything else. So if you try to change one thing, you have to figure out what the consequences of changing that one thing are.
Exactly. It's not simple.
Right. Well, and I mean, simple answers are attractive, though.
Yes.
That's the thing.
And
that's kind of goes back to what we were saying of like this millenarian eschatological idea that, well, we can just make Judgment Day happen if we fulfill these prophecies and all the ducks are in a row and line up the right way, then Christ will come back. And because I go to church every Sunday, I'm going to be first in line. Now,
Right.
It's like, no, you're supposed to just do good works here and love your fellow man. Like those are really, really the two main things.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a big part of what was said by the Jesus person
Yeah, that Jesus guy.
that people
was
seem
all
to
right
forget
by me.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you have so many Christians who don't really understand what Jesus was saying. Like it's become more an ideology than actually looking. I mean, because it's not that different from something like Buddhism.
No, it's not. Essentially, be good to each other and don't destroy things.
Yeah, right?
Don't be.
Don't judge other people.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out when we started to get addicted to anger and hatred.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, because people say it's human nature, but I honestly don't believe that at all. I think there is no human that naturally wants to bomb his neighbor out of existence.
right.
There is no human that naturally, on impulse, wants to watch people starve or feel like inequality is fine and the cooperation isn't the way to go. Because you know what, we only evolved at this point as a species through cooperation. It's the
Right.
only reason we're here now. It's the only reason we have any technology or any civilization. Human nature is, it's a delicate thing, and it works best when we all work together.
Yeah.
And anger is natural, and wanting simple answers is natural, but war is not natural.
Right. Especially on the level we do it.
There's machinations that go into war. There's a whole requires things like propaganda. It requires getting people fired up intentionally. It's not human nature. I think peace is not too much to hope for. And if it makes me sound naive, then so be it. But I think it's a worthwhile pursuit anyway.
Yes, I agree. And the other thing when we're talking about answers, this goes into the invisible gorilla stuff where they did what they call the illusion of confidence, that people are more likely to listen to somebody who is confident and wrong than somebody who is unsure but probably right.
Well,
Oh, doesn't that sound familiar?
yeah. I was about to say the problem with a lot of people who are progressive is that comes from observation of reality. So you have to admit there's a problem, right?
Right.
And the thing about all of those easy solutions is they generally don't really work. So the progressive says, well, we could do this, but this could happen if we did that. So, they list all of these possibilities, and by that point, it makes them sound wishy-washy.
Yes.
See, because they can't decide between all these things. Instead of explaining everything perfectly, what they should probably do is just say, this is how we're going to fix it right here, boom.
Yeah.
And explain all the different ways it couldn't work.
But then it feels intellectually dishonest to some people.
It does. And I think that some of the intellectually gifted kind of need to recognize that if they want people who are in the working class to vote for their position and actually have some solutions for kitchen table issues, then they're going to have to meet them where they are and not give every in-depth policy wonk answer, because it's going to be tuned out. So they have to be like a certain charismatic president and just be like, we're going to do this. I'm not talking about the word salad that he spews, but sometimes he just comes out with a very simple answer. It's never the right one, mind you, but it sounds good.
And that's all it needs to do is sound good. That's what they did in the study, is that they sent people to two different doctors, and it was a made-up illness type of thing. And they said, okay, you tell the doctor your symptoms. And the first doctor immediately went, I know exactly what this is. Here's the medication you're going to take. Here you go. You're good. The second doctor went, and then looked some stuff up and then went, I think it's this. Let's try this medication. And 100% of the people went with the first doctor because he knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And they said, that doctor was wrong.
Yeah.
They felt uncomfortable with the second doctor checking his work, like making sure he knew what he was talking about.
Yes. And that's part of the anti-science bias, that people don't value the way the scientific method works, which is you check your work. You have other people check your work.
Yeah, I mean,
you do it over and over.
Yeah, people don't realize that the word proof in the sense of science and mathematics doesn't necessarily mean objective reality.
Right.
It means that the method led us to the conclusion that this is probably true.
Right.
That's the definition of proof there. So when you ask for proof of something, this is the proof. This is the work that went to getting to this conclusion. So I mean, it is a big problem because people can be authoritative in the way that they present something and just be pathological liars or delusional, but they sound so confident about it that people are inspired to listen. But I mean, it takes a special kind of person to be able to be intellectually honest and persuasive in a way that has mass appeal. And unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of that.
And there have definitely been comments over the years where people are like, well, you guys don't have the answers to anything on this show. Why should I listen? And it's like, because the other answers are wrong and we're trying to find the right questions.
Yeah.
Or nobody can have the exact right answers in this field.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I've heard you both on the show in different ways say, like, if somebody comes to you saying, I know how this is, like, you should turn around and walk away. Because it's like nobody has those answers. That's where you get like cult leaders. Like, I alone have the exclusive knowledge.
Well, isn't that kind of Greer? I mean, Greer goes up there. He has that confidence, the potential narcissism. He's but he has all the answers. He'll tell you the 13 aliens that are coming down. He'll take you out and you can see UFOs with him, even if they're just satellites. You
or drones, or flares,
or potentially something really anomalous. Because I mean, I'm sure there are times where they're out there and they do see something weird.
Yeah,
but I mean, you could do that on your own. You don't need Greer for that.
Exactly. His method is the exact same thing as what Jeff Rense came up with. and used, and it worked, and it works for other people. It's worked for me, but we don't charge $10,000
Yeah.
to go out and do it with people.
That's the part. The grift is the sticking point for me.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
plus, I can't think of Stephen Greer without thinking of like Jeremy Vaney doing an impression of him on the old Paratopia episodes.
right.
It always cracks me up.
Well, and the thing with Greer too, like he did that document. I mean, his documentaries always look beautiful. You know.
Oh yeah, the production values are great.
They're available everywhere, so people, you know, when they see that confidence, when they see that he knows what he's talking about. But even like the little alien baby thing that he had, that they went and did all the research on. And it came back as, oh, yeah, this is actually human. He didn't not say that in the documentary. He just said it really quickly and to the side, like, oh, the DNA is human. But, you know, we don't know who the father was, you know.
Quick, get Maury Povich on the case.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because that little mummy is fairly unique. I mean, it was an interesting find. But really, the work he did, the science he had done on it, basically proved it was human. And just an anomaly, which in itself is interesting.
Yeah.
But that's not the answer he wanted. He gets credit for actually acknowledging in the documentary the DNA was completely human. But he did kind of try to just put it off to the side.
Yeah, that's a problem. I have problems with that.
Yeah.
But what about Jaime Maussan? I mean,
he's just a grifter. Like, I think Greer actually believes he knows what he's talking about.
I think he does, too. I don't think he's sitting there coming up with theories because he cynically knows he's wrong.
Right. And I think Maussan...
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think he was on the disclosure thing. Like, he was kind of ahead of the curve with it in some ways and never got the full attention that he feels he deserves. I think he's always been a little sour about that. Where, like, when in recent times where the attention's been more on, like, Elizondo or Tom DeLonge or these other people, he's like, well, I was talking about this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude's not wrong.
Right.
Nobody in that Lou Elizondo crowd is saying anything new.
Nope.
Right. Yep.
I'm looking at you, Dave Grush. I'm looking at you.
And I don't know what to think of Grush. I think Grush is probably being honest, but
he was told some shit, but he's been told things, but he can't say who told him, and he has no way to know that they're telling him the truth.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the definition of useful idiot. I mean, I feel bad about saying that because I don't think the man's actually an idiot. But
no.
In the parlance of spooky behavior. But I mean, at one point, I was like, "Who's this guy remind me of?" And then it occurred to me that for some reason, the guy just reminds me of Johnny from movie Airplane.
Oh.
Wacky guy, you know, and I couldn't unsee it after that.
But the Maussan, however, seems to just be a grifter. I mean, he's pulling up stuff that's clearly like the Roswell slides.
Right.
Like any amount of research immediately would tell you, hey, yeah, no, this is just a standard mummy in a museum. But I think he saw the opportunity to make money from it. So put it out there, make it seem really special and secret and so on and so forth. Charge a ton of money. People come see it live, and then he walks away with a bunch of money, and you're going, so it was just a mummy? You know?
Yeah. Step right up. Come one, come all.
And I feel like you can't have seen that slide and think that was real.
Yeah.
You know, and then
People
the mummies he pulled out recently that looked like cake.
Oh, yeah, the cake people. I don't remember where I saw it, but I swear a baker online made real cake.
Yes, they did.
And it was great. You know, as a former chef, I just had to howl with laughter over that because that was amazing.
So yeah, he's one of those people where sometimes maybe he's actually on to something legit, but I don't think he cares one way or another if he thinks he can exploit it.
Yeah. And again, so disclosure and the apocalypse, those are kind of two pieces of the same coin. So what do people look for when they're going on about how they want disclosure? what is it they want out of disclosure?
Answers.
Right. Answers, which is what the end of the world brings.
Well, more importantly, they want the answers that fit with their belief system.
Well, see that now then now we have problems.
Yes. Because if the government came out and said this is not aliens, it's something else, they'd be like, but no,
You're
it's
just
aliens.
lying.
Yeah, why are you lying?
Or now they're calling it non-human intelligence.
Yeah.
Which I prefer because
Sure.
I think that's a more accurate look at, the phenomena.
It's weird to watch them reach these conclusions in real time, though, and like kind of pat themselves on the back for being more accurate. You're like, no, it's UAP. And they're all clinging to that ETH idea. And then they're like, oh, it's actually NHI. And it might not have anything to do with space. And they're like, I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back. It's like, yeah, way to go, catching up to 50, 60-year-old ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Keel came up with that so long ago.
Right.
And then, of course, UAP was the first designation.
Was
Yep.
it?
It was.
Yes.
Yeah, it's older than UFO.
It's
UFO
older than Blue Book.
Yeah, UFO became the term that the Air Force applied in 1952 with the Ruppelt report. Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to use that. They wanted to use UAP, but then they decided, or UFO was better.
Yeah, and they pronounced it UFO.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it has a little more flow to it. But again, I think that was also a part of removing the ridicule factor. Rename it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Changing it to UAP because, I was even 10 years ago, I was like, why do people assume UFO means or UFO means extraterrestrial? Because nowhere in that designation, unidentified flying object, that is the most boring, plain way of saying what it is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, UAP is better because it brings in what Keel called the soft sightings, which were lights without a structure. An object, it makes you think of something physical. It designates as a material object that is made of matter, whereas unidentified aerial phenomena or atmospheric phenomena, that can be anything. That can be a structured thing. It can be a light. It can be a jellyfish flying in the sky. It doesn't hedge it in as much. So I think it's a better terminology, but my preferred is flying saucer just because I like it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Even when I'm just talking about lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where you get like the simple answers based on simple assumptions too. It's the same kind of psychology that goes into it, where somebody says UFO or like government report on UFOs, and then instantly it was almost a meme on the internet. Like government just admitted that aliens are real, and everybody's just acting like it's no big deal. It's like, nope, they didn't.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. They said they've been studying things in the sky that they didn't know what they were. What a surprise.
They admitted the thing that we all in this field already knew, that they were paying attention to this stuff. Not necessarily that they know what it is, but
they specifically said we don't know what it is.
But, like, wouldn't it be a scandal if there were lights in the sky and the government was like, probably nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like if there's something weird in the sky, the government's paying attention. And they either know what it is and they can let it go, or they don't know what it is and they're going to try and get some kind of data for it. But this stuff is so
mostly what they want to know is it a threat?
Yes.
That's what ATIP was doing. Right? Is this like advanced technology from another nation? Is it a weapon? Is it?
Yeah. And I mean, Project Blue Book, even when they closed it, they didn't say there was no such thing as anomalous sightings. They said that none of these cases seem to be threats to the United States.
Exactly.
Right.
Not even the ones that turned off the nukes.
Right.
Right.
I think
Weirdly
they were
enough.
lying when they said that.
I mean, the Condon report was a lot more dismissive. At that point,
Yeah, he had decided what he was going to say before he said it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
before he
project.
looked at anything.
Yeah. So
I'm sure that made Dr. Hynek like grind his teeth down.
Well, I think it partly inspired him to continue with Kufos.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a copy of the Condon report here that came from the estate of like a local MUFON guy, and he wrote on the edges of the page, I think it's just like debunker, skeptic, like. He was very angry about this book. He wrote right on the side of it so that anybody that picked it up knows that this guy was disingenuous in his approach.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to the end of the world, I mean, there is, of course, a lot of overlap with UFO stuff.
Yes.
I mean, the book When Prophecy Fails is kind of based on a UFO cult that thought the world was going to end in the 1950s. So,
yeah. Did Jay-Z Night 2 predict an end of the world that didn't happen?
I think so.
I was about to say I think so, and since both of us remember it that way,
Yeah.
my guess is we're correct.
Because I think
So at least there's at least one timeline in the multiverse where that's true. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you got a point.
And allegedly,
I remember-
allegedly Art Bell's cousin.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Somebody said that once. I don't remember who it was.
I have heard that. Yeah.
I was saying I came from the timeline that had Datsuns instead of Nissan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
And I had a
Datsuns
friend
is-
back then who, I woke up one day and there was Nissan everywhere. I was like, what?
Wait, there were not Datsuns?
Well, see, that's the thing, is there was a point where all of the advertising and everything, obviously, they didn't say, we used to be Datsun. They just became Nissan, and they were Nissan, and everything was Nissan.
Huh.
And it was just weird. And so we made a big joke about how we came from the other universe, and we don't understand this Nissan thing.
Well, it was pretty funny on our end because we just heard, well, I came from, and then you dropped out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, she came from somewhere, and she went back
And then
there,
she
I
went
guess.
back.
I don't know.
So.
And that one dude who comments is going, yes, she disappeared.
To be fair, most comments on this show are pretty intelligent, good comments.
Oh yeah, I was about to say you get really good comments.
Well, yeah, I mean, I really feel like there's one guy. That's
Yeah,
just
There's always
grumble,
that one
grumble.
guy.
Yeah, there's one or two. And I've had people complain about me going into politics too much. I think this is the most we've ever gone into politics on a show, and it's more because it's relevant.
I was going to say you can't talk about apocalypse and not talk about politics.
Right,
Especially not right now.
Normally I leave politics out. I mean, as I said, my politics are pretty simple. I want everyone to be okay. I want to have the policies where no one goes hungry, wants for a place to live, medical coverage, et cetera, but also people can do what they want with their lives.
I basically just want the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, I
don't know about the transporter.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. Individual freedom is incredibly important to me, and that's more of a libertarian idea. But also I think we are well sophisticated and rich enough that if all the money wasn't concentrated in a bunch of billionaires, there would be no problem feeding everyone, housing everyone, et cetera, et cetera. It's just you have a bunch of greedy people at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if, you can call that whatever you want, but I think that's pretty common sense. I don't think empathy for your fellow man is a negative thing in any context.
No, it's not. I mean, some people say it is, but some of those people are billionaires who believe in the dark enlightenment and have serious issues and really don't like other people.
And my thing with when I take stories from people, I've always said I'd rather believe someone who's lying than not believe someone who's telling the truth. Well, I would prefer these programs be out there for the people that need them. And if someone abuses that, okay, well, that's on them. I would still rather have someone abuse the program, but other people be able to get it if they need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's really my political stance. It's not that nuanced, and we should stop bombing everyone.
Bombing everyone is generally not good.
Stop regime changes, it's...
Well, I don't know. There's a regime I'd like to change, but...
But the thing is, every time the CIA has changed the regime, it's backfired on us.
Oh, spectacularly. And you would think that they'd figure that out.
Yeah, I don't think they learned.
See, this is how people should know I'm not actually working for anybody, disinfoing anything, because the incompetence of a lot of the shadowy government work is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It's just phenomenal. And the amount of money wasted doing sketchy stuff that isn't necessary.
Yeah. And I mean, we're far enough removed from, World War II. I think it's unfortunate that we ended up being in the Cold War right after, but But I think there was a moment there, and in some ways you can get a glimpse of it in some 1960s pop culture like Star Trek. Or even, I noticed it in like the Godzilla movies too in the 60s, where there was this kind of fictional world where every nation in the world worked together. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And there was world peace, and it was like so people could spend their time building space stations and learning what lives at the bottom of the ocean and all this other
Right,
stuff.
right.
It was like this kind of techno utopian idea where cooperation was good, and I mean it was because there was just had the devastation of a worldwide conflict. You know. And I think as you get generations removed from that, people don't realize like how tenuous that balance really can be. You know, and you know, people are always worried that we're going to end up in World War III, and it's like I don't know. Sometimes that seems not too far fetched, but I mean, the people of every nation of the world, generally, the average people that are just out there trying to survive, don't really wish death on the people that are doing the same thing in the other country across the ocean.
Exactly.
You know?
No, they don't. And
Nobody wants to go to war, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're rich enough, you can just claim you have bone spurs and you won't have to go. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, people, I used to be a tarot card reader for a living. I didn't charge enough, but that's okay. I felt guilty charging too much. I
fair.
felt better about helping people who needed help.
Yeah.
But I learned that every human being has the same wants and needs. Doesn't matter what country you're from. Doesn't matter what religion you believe in. Because, you know, here in this university town, we have people from all over the world. And most of my clients were international students because they were coming from parts of the world where people who were oracles were a normal part of life. It wasn't considered new agey to go talk to an astrologer or, you know, any kind of person doing divination. So, you know, I had customers from Africa and Asia and parts of Europe, Romania, you know, just everywhere. And, you know, their problems are very similar. The desires are the same.
Yeah.
Will I be successful? Will I find love? Will I, you know, get out of this whatever X bad situation is? You know, will I get out of this problem? Will I be able to solve this? Will I see my family again? You know, all of these things, these are just the same things that exist in every person's heart. And I don't understand why we can't get along.
Yeah. Because we're not in a world where there's not enough for everybody, too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Again, it's just lopsided where the rich have all of it and the rest of us have to, you know, basically struggle to keep our heads above water.
And yeah,
it's the artificial scarcity thing.
Yeah. and to go back to apocalypse stuff, we mentioned Art Bell, and I mean Art Bell was in part a part of that whole cult there, that UFO cult. What was the name of it? The Halley's Comet one.
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. That's it.
He was talking about the Hale-Bopp Comet and
Hale-Bopp. That's what it was. Yes.
Right, and promoting some of those ideas. He wasn't like part of the cult, though. I don't.
No, he wasn't part of the cult, but he kind of gave it a voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked about it a lot.
Well, then he also had his own idea called like quickening. Do you remember this?
Oh, vaguely.
He would talk about it with like Whitley Strieber. It was never really clear what it was, but it wasn't good. It was like the quickening is upon us.
That's from Highlander.
It's true.
Well, I believe you, but I mean, it was something that he would talk about. He had a book.
No, my point is maybe he saw the Highlander and got inspired.
Or at least used the term. I mean, you figure...
Yeah,
okay, so,
maybe he liked the verbiage.
And speaking of Whitley, you have him and Art Bell writing The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, maybe that's the book I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, which is them talking about an apocalyptic scenario where the mid-Atlantic current stops and it causes this new ice age.
Which, it could be maybe happening now.
Yes, the mid-Atlantic current is slowing and has been for quite some time. If it does stop, how apocalyptic it'll be will vary based on a lot of factors, but it's definitely not a good thing.
Well, Northern Europe and Great Britain, they're going to be in trouble.
Yes. And this area, like the northeast of the U.S., will definitely drop in temperature overall.
Yeah.
Because that current brings up the warm air from the equator. And I mean, when you look at a map, I don't think not everyone realizes it, but like the UK, is fairly far north, but it's kept warm by that current, bringing these warm airs across and down through Europe.
Yeah, warm air and water. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it stops, I mean, we don't know what would happen exactly. We can model it out. It's not good, but I mean, their idea is that you would have, they were, I think Whitley was trying to explain in the frozen mammoths and stuff, by saying that we would have this ice cold air dropping from space and flash freezing things.
Right.
And of course, they made the movie about it, which was not a bad movie overall. Hell of a lot better than the 2012 movie.
Yeah. Well, then 2012 was its own thing, too. That was another doomsday prophecy that allegedly was supposed to have aligned with the Mayan calendar.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about that when we get back. We got to take a quick break.
Okay.
Quick mid-show break here. And a recommendation. First of all, you can contact us at wheredidtheroadgo.com. All the contact info is there. All our social media is there, and every show all the way back to the first one. If you want to become a patron, you can do that there as well. It's only $3 a month. You get extra stuff with pretty much every show, as well as the shows a week or so early and commercial free. And you get extra stuff on top of all of that I occasionally put up for just patrons. You can also help out by giving us a good review on whatever you're listening to it. And, of course, sharing it as well. As for a recommendation this week, I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm going to go down some of 36 Dingo's, thanks to 36 Dingo, which is that he made a list of all the recommendations from 2024. And, so I'm kind of going over these because I'm sure not everyone heard every single one. So a few more here. Three Body Problem TV show. This is on Netflix. It's based on a series of books I haven't read. There's actually a Chinese one as well, because the author is Chinese. So there's a series that's the Chinese version of this, and then there's the Netflix version of this, which they did renew, I think, for 3 seasons. Constellation, which was on Apple TV. It's one of the few things Apple TV, I think, canceled. But that was pretty cool. But Apple TV's been pretty good at putting out quality series, especially sci-fi stuff, and actually giving it some time to develop. But that one, I think they killed. The Bright Sessions podcast. That's a really good podcast. It's sort of like people with special abilities, kind of like heroes almost in some ways. Very well done. Highly recommend that. Late Night with the Devil, the movie. Loved that one. Another podcast that I absolutely love, Among the Stars and Bones. That is, that's a good sci-fi, sort of like sci-fi Indiana Jones. You know, they're exploring lost civilizations out in the stars, and it's just really, really well done. Trap Street, which just finished, and we had actually the hosts of Trap Street on, so I recommend checking out that show. And the show they were on, because it's a really interesting show, plus the podcast Trap Street. They also did another one that's escaping me at the moment, but you can find that if you look at the Trap Street podcast. And we'll go with one more, Under the Silver Lake, with a lot of esoteric stuff in it. It's a movie. It came out in 2018, and so I'm gonna end there for recommendations, in case you missed any of those from last year. All right, back to the show. So we're up to talking about 2012, which I remember writing an article about this pre-2012, where I basically said, the chances of anything actually happening are low. However, we should be trying to understand more about why the Maya thought this was an important time than anything else. I mean, because they did have advanced astronomical skills. They did it way ahead of us. So if they're pointing to a particular date, well, maybe there's a reason, and we should, not just assume it means the end of the world. And because I think what it was is the calendar reset at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a meme I had pulled off because we were getting ready to do this show, and it says the prediction that the Mayan calendar cycle would end in 2012 is based on a specific mathematical calculation, dividing the total number of days in the cycle by 365.25. However, scholars have pointed out a critical flaw in this logic. The calendar itself, in all its multiples, is clearly based on a 360-day year, not 365. If you use the calendar's own internal logic and divide by 360, you get a completely different end date, the year 2087. This suggests the entire 2012 phenomena may have been based on a simple yet profound mathematical interpretation of this ancient system.
So in other words, we didn't carry the 3.
Right. And that's interesting that the 260-day thing, or 360-day thing, goes back to the work of Velikovsky.
Yes.
Who talks about us having a shorter year at one point and how every culture had a 360-day year and then suddenly had to add 5 days after what he says was Venus moving through the system and causing all kinds of havoc. When Laird Scranton wrote his book on Velikovsky's stuff to see if he could disprove any of it, that was something he also found, that there was no evidence that there were 365 days in any culture prior to a certain point.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw, I didn't read the article, but I saw a headline earlier today saying that the Earth's rotation is speeding up now, too.
Yes.
So, today, while we're recording, I guess is supposed to be like the shortest day ever or something, because it's supposed to, or maybe the longest day, because the rotation is speeding up. I don't know,
yes.
But yeah, that can certainly affect things. The cumulative effect of a lot of these things, and the Earth tilting on its axis weirdly, or spinning faster, or moving through space faster, would affect any of these things.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's not speeding up by a lot. It's like a few milliseconds, I think. But
right.
So that brings us to something else. And I recommended this page at one point, and now I have a few reservations about it, but not because of the data. There was a YouTube channel called Suspicious Observers, and he's changed it to weather or something. But if you look up Suspicious Observers, you can still find it. He does real good in finding articles about like how the sun affects the environment, how the sun affects us. Things like that, like following the solar activity and what it's affecting. He's also kind of a doomsday guy, a prepper who's saying that the Earth's magnetic field is going to flip, and when it does, it's going to destroy most life on Earth. And then, of course, he goes on to try and sell you gold.
Well, see, yeah, because the gold is going to matter.
Gold and silver, but the thing is, like the papers he pulls up on that channel are actually really interesting, and I've saved quite a few of them. But then he went and posted something on a Reddit forum about how he was going to go start shooting people at an Antifa protest, and I was like, "Oh, that's not okay. Like, what is wrong with you?" And then because he's like saying he's doing the show, and he has actually like a police officer there with him because of that post.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
This is why I stopped hanging out with a certain crowd of people that I hung out with on the internet, because they all started getting very doomsday-ish. It was around 2012.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of churn about that, and I was like, "Look, guys, I'm going to have a party, and I'm going to make a bunch of pastries and sandwiches, and we're going to have tea, and we're going to call it a tea and cake or death party." And that's what we're going to do. And so we all got together, and it was the last time all of us got together, because we lost a few people after that. But we had a great time. And I said, "Guys, if the world ends, it ends."
Yeah.
Some of you are too young to have grown up with the threat of nuclear war hanging over your head. But all of that, hey, let's build bomb shelters and stuff. From a reasonably early age, which means, about 12, 13, I started reading about, what that would be like. And it's not like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were, which were bad enough.
Yeah.
It's you don't want to live past that.
Right.
You want to be at ground zero or something like that. You don't want to be there for it. I said, so why, in essence, why worry about that? Work against it in any way you can, and be prepared for like natural disasters.
Yes.
Because I'm not completely stupid.
There's nothing wrong with being prepared. There's not even anything wrong with having a shelter, but if you think you're going to live out the next 200 years in a shelter by yourself,
or with your family, yeah. I
mean, I'm sure the government has facilities that will survive a natural disaster that are huge, that can house thousands of rich people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like in Dr. Strangelove.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go
they
ahead.
were getting so like, they'd get upset about the caldera that's, underneath Yellowstone. And I was like, if that goes, it goes.
Right.
We dive. That's it. That's it. Even us over here, in the Appalachians,
Oh yeah.
that gas is going to get us. Nothing we can do about it. We're going to be like the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody was like, what if an asteroid hits us? And I'm like, oh my God. So I kind of had to stop hanging out with them because it was just getting to the point. But I noticed that it changed people's personalities, that kind of constant worry about.
Well, it's almost, you wonder if they want it to happen. It's like, I kind of thought about that a lot in the early 2000s, where it seemed like there was a lot of zombie apocalypse mania.
Yeah.
To the point where I think there was one point where the CDC had to like put out what was it, like a fake guidance from the CDC on what to do in a zombie apocalypse or something like that.
Which was a really funny way to basically do basic preparedness for natural disasters.
Yeah.
It's a much more interesting way to get people to read your site.
Yeah. But I feel like while that was going on, it's just like a lot of people, that became like almost a fantasy for people. It's like, imagine if I didn't have to go to work, but I had to navigate my way through like a zombie apocalypse. Like, you don't want that, do you?
But also, it feels to me like, hey, some of that came from people playing video games where it just was fun and exciting, and the movies made it look fun and exciting. And then also, for anyone who really wants to shoot other people but doesn't want to feel guilty about killing someone, hey, you get to shoot a zombie. They're not a real person.
Yep.
Yeah, bingo. Or if you do shoot a person, there's no law, there's
right.
no law
Yes.
that's going to come and get you, Yeah.
Yes, I think that's what governs a lot of this stuff, is that there are people who want to be violent, but they know they can't really get away with it, so they long for a crash in society so that the force of law will no longer exist. And so that's what they want.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that. I don't know that anybody can do that much about it.
Well,
yeah, and again, I mean, I feel like that's not normal human nature. I think there's a million ways people can get there, get to violence or get to anger, but I don't think that's the default.
No. I mean, I think there are things in our culture that make people angry, and especially not having enough is a big deal. I mean, when you're fighting for it every day, you're thinking, well, what if the world ends? Then I don't have to fight for this like you said, I don't have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
Of course, most of those people will also be victims of the zombie apocalypse almost immediately.
Yeah.
The thing they don't realize that they're probably not going to be the survivors. But
unless you're a prepper, though. I mean, because I feel like that coincided with a lot of doomsday preppers.
Yes.
There was kind of a lot of overlap there.
And again, being prepared is there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's fine. But think about like what you want to be prepared for, and like for someone like me. And I've said this before. I mean, being diabetic, I'm only going to survive so long if I can't get insulin.
Right.
There's no way to prep for that. Unless I created my own insulin creation lab, Yeah.
We'll get right on that.
Right. But yeah, you have people who are so focused on the end of the world that they kind of stop living their lives.
That too. And that gets to be extremely unhealthy.
Yeah.
And it, again, that's part of why I had to walk away. I could not hang out with that group of people, and it was just ridiculous. And they started talking about, violent solutions. And I'm like, those aren't really solutions. That's just uncivilizing yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's a point at which, the delusion can become like a shared thing and becomes violent and weird. And either everybody ends up committing suicide together or comes up with violent ideas. It's no good. I think that's a very real danger when you're talking about this kind of thing. And you see it with like the, we mentioned the Heaven's Gate group, which I had a point that I was heading towards with all that, but I lost it.
That happens. When you were talking about an asteroid hitting the Earth, I mean, this is stuff, that's the stuff the government should be preparing for, taking out asteroids. protecting the grid from solar flares, which is an incredibly
Yes.
important one. That's probably the most likely way we end up back in the Stone Age, because if we get hit with a powerful enough flare, we have no electronics. We have no means of making the stuff to fix all the stuff we just lost.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, as Strieber had said, they proposed a bill. It wasn't even a lot of money that would protect our grid. And Congress just shot it down. They're like, we don't need that.
Yeah.
It's like, great, except we do. And there have been, this is one of the things the Suspicious Observer site had pointed out, is that the magnetic field of Earth is weakening. That's not a thing. It's just the
it
timeline
is.
of it. So
And and the true north is moving.
yes. So he's saying, it's going to flip in the next 10 years. Scientists are saying, well, it's going to flip in the next 80 years. He's saying it's going to be cataclysmic. They're saying you're probably not even going to notice. It's going to screw up some things like animal migration and things like that, but overall things will adapt. So it's hard to say. I mean, he's saying the last time it happened was, 6,000 years ago. But he calls it the Noah event. And I haven't seen a lot of evidence that we had a cataclysm 6,000 years ago.
No.
12,000 years ago, yes. But again, that probably wasn't the magnetic field. That was probably a comet, and maybe even part of the whole Velikovsky thing with Venus.
Yeah.
Or if you look at Schock's work, it was a solar outburst. But my point here, what was my point here? So asteroids. So the asteroids are something we can do something about. The solar flares are something we can protect ourselves from. That's the type of stuff that the government should be doing to prep us for potential problems. What is the name of the movie? There was a movie about an asteroid headed toward Earth.
Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up. That's what it was. That was brilliant and terrifyingly accurate. Because the asteroid had, potential minerals in it that could be used to, make electronics. So the sort of Steve Jobs / Elon Musk type guy was like, why don't we mine it? And that way it won't hit the Earth. We'll just kind of capture it. And of course that fails, and the rich people all leave the Earth.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that, when people get all upset about Elon Musk, we're going to go to Mars. I'm like, he ain't going to Mars.
Yeah, no.
He ain't going to Mars. Not in his lifetime. Sorry.
I'm not sure it's going to be that easy to go to Mars. I don't think it's just a matter of technology. I think we have a connection to this planet that is going to be hard to get away from.
Yeah.
I mean, no human being that we're aware of has gone beyond the Earth's magnetic field. And the people who have gone along the as far out as the moon and stuff, or people in even the space station, which isn't that high, see huge physical differences.
Oh,
when they're
it's
up
not
there
good
for a while. Yeah. They said if someone were to go to Mars, at very least, they'd probably need to find something to strengthen their kidneys, because it's one of the things it damages.
It damages your kidneys. It damages your muscle tone.
Yes.
Space is really horrible for humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, space wants to kill you.
Yeah, really badly. It's ready for you.
So I think we have a lot more to understand about our connection to the planet. It's not just a matter of finding the tech to do it.
I mean, I would like it to be easy, but it's not going to
Sure.
be.
I'd love to see the universe, just be able to zip around and,
Star Trek would be great if we could do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
But-
the biggest part of that fiction is that everybody worked together. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took a whole nother war for it to happen.
Yeah, at
yeah,
least
that's
one.
true. They had like a third world war in the 1990s or something. And
Yeah, and the eugenics war
Yeah.
the eugenics
after
war.
that.
Yep.
So we got two big ones lined up if we're going to believe Star Trek.
So out of that Apocalypse Wow book, there were a couple other things he mentioned that were real things that he didn't make up. And the next one was the one in Japan. It says, in Japan, members of the Shinrikyo cult believed they could jumpstart the apocalypse by releasing homemade nerve gas in the subways of Tokyo.
They were terrible.
They also believed their corpulent leader, Shoko Ashara, would float by meditating, and that they could synchronize their brain waves with his battery-operated electron hats.
Yeah, Mm.
Yeah, see, like I'm really not fond of this book from the snippets you've read because these stories are horrifying.
Yes.
And
That
like
was-
you can't really. I mean, you can be flippant and try to joke about it, but it's like if you know the story behind that cult, it is dark. It is
Exactly.
It's horrifying,
really
as you
dark,
say.
Horrifying
Yep.
stuff.
Because the nerve gas they released into the sub, they actually did that.
Yeah, the sarin gas.
Yeah, and that was just awful.
And it could have been so much worse too. I think
Yeah.
I think it went off earlier than they meant for it to, or something. So they had planned on doing it when it was a much busier time.
Yeah.
They were looking to get as many people as possible. So fortunately, they screwed up. But unfortunately, the effects of sarin gas are awful.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This,
And as you say, thankfully they were fairly incompetent, but they were competent enough to kill enough people that
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, not only that, but like they had a compound where people were basically held prisoner as part of the cult and not allowed to see their family, and people were tortured.
yeah, that's a particularly nasty one.
Yeah, it is.
It's not your run of the mill cult. It was a really, really gruesome, awful thing.
Yeah. The next thing he says is both ultra-Orthodox Jews and fundamentalist Christians are working to rebuild Solomon's temple on its original site in Jerusalem. Before you applaud the altruism of the Christians, remember this is no Habitat for Humanity project. They are doing this so Christ can return and bring down our collective curtains.
Oh, no, and it's not even just that. You know why the evangelicals are great supporters of Israel, don't you? Because all of the Jewish people are supposed to go back to Israel before Jesus comes back.
Yeah. That's why there's such a Zionist overlap with people that are ostensibly usually bigots.
And the whole thing about when they go back to Israel and Jesus comes back, they don't get to go to heaven because they don't accept Jesus as their savior.
Right.
So every time somebody starts talking about how the evangelicals are the great friends of Israel, I'm like, I will vomit in my mouth a little bit because they're not.
Mm-hmm. And then the last part he says here, which covers some of what we already talked about. Some experts, a term I will use very flexibly in this book, state that the Earth will witness physical catastrophes from passing asteroids, top-heavy polar ice caps, rampant plagues, overpopulation, pollution, television retrospectives, and the reemergence of the lost continent of Atlantis. The partisans rooting for Godzilla have yet to be heard from, but there's still time.
Oh, where's Super Inframan when you need him?
Right? But you also see what I mean with like he's trying to be funny, but it's not really necessarily funny.
It's just kind of snarky and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, passing asteroids could do damage to us. I mean, that's not a ridiculous disaster scenario, as we just said. Top heavy polar ice caps.
Well, we've taken care of that.
Right.
It can't even keep the polar vortex up where it's supposed to be anymore.
Rampant plagues. Well, I mean,
then
we had one that, I mean, it did a lot of damage, and people's reaction to it did a lot of damage.
Yes. And so for, when the next one comes, people are going to be even more resistant to dealing with it than they were before.
Yeah.
Because, But my father-in-law and I both are kind of paranoid, and we tend to catastrophize. I've gotten a lot better about it. I don't know that he has, but we were looking for what's going to be the pandemic. He's a medical doctor, so and I read medical journals for fun because I'm weird. Anyway, I'd see news. This we've got SARS. Is this it? Is this it? Swine flu. Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it? And we both agreed that COVID was it. So I was preparing because I got the first rumblings from China about it in late December. So I started preparing for it in January.
Okay.
And so did Morgana. And we told people, and most people thought we were really weird. Like, there's she and I at Walmart with, overflowing carts with very odd things. Why do you need all those medical masks? well, there's this sickness in China that is looking really bad. It's a respiratory illness. Maybe, it won't be bad. Okay.
Well, people expect things to stay the same.
Yes.
I mean, just as a general thing, they don't expect change.
Yeah.
And that goes right down to science. I mean, science is so against the idea of catastrophic change unless it happened very, very, very far in the past. Like everything is very gradual. Everything moves very slow.
Until it doesn't anymore.
Right. And I think that's a thing that humans do because it's security.
It's scary.
Yeah.
If you read the stuff like, my father-in-law and I do about various illnesses, you're going to scare yourself if you're not careful.
Sure.
I don't read that stuff as carefully as I did because, everything seems like an apocalypse now. So,
True.
I just kind of go, well, if it happens, it happens.
The next thing he listed was overpopulation, which, I mean, I do believe we're overpopulated.
Yeah.
But birth rates are dropping. And the funny thing is, for years, you would hear one of the big conspiracy theories be like, oh, the rich want to drop our numbers. That was even part of the whole pandemic. Like, oh, they're just trying to kill us all off. And it's like, then birth rates start dropping. And they're like, the actual rich people are going, you guys got to have kids. Who's going to work for us?
Make babies. And we're like,
who's going to buy our stuff?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to make babies. Thank you.
And some of that I think is also ingrained in culture, where you're just expected to have children.
Yeah.
And nowadays it seems like more and more people are going, well, I don't want to have kids. I can barely support myself. I don't want to have children.
Yep.
So
yep, that's it exactly.
I have hopes that overpopulation will sort of remedy itself because of the way things are going. Plus, with all the plastics and stuff, microplastics, it's Super Inframan had mentioned one doctor he talked to said that like every man has it in their sperm now.
Yep. The plastic thing, they've been telling us for years, cholesterol is going to get in your veins and arteries, and you're going to have a heart attack. Well, it turns out that it isn't just cholesterol. In fact, it may not even be cholesterol at all.
Yeah.
It's probably microplastics mixed with cholesterol. And I'm like, so here they've made us feel guilty for every mouthful that we eat. For at least half my life.
Yep.
And it isn't even that at all.
Well, it's like, what did I see recently that's similar to that? I saw BP put up something about how people need to recycle. And someone commented it like, how about you don't spill, tons of oil into the ocean instead?
Yeah. Yeah. Putting it on consumers that's another control mechanism for people.
Yep.
No, it should be the corporations that are the big polluters.
But they just pay tax credits and they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
And I don't think people realize that. I mean, that's the whole recycling thing was pushed by big corporations so that they didn't have to change what they do because, the consumers are going to recycle their plastics, most of which just end up in landfills. Or get shipped to other countries and end up in landfills. Yeah,
they're in Chinese landfills right now.
And so, I'm not saying don't recycle. I actually absolutely think people should try and recycle, but don't think it's going to solve the issue unless massive corporations stop doing what they're doing.
And they're not likely to stop doing what they're doing.
No, they have no incentive to stop doing it.
Yeah.
So we're just about out of time. Barbara, where can people find you unless the world ends?
Even if the world ends, if there's like one last person, you can still find all of the episodes of 6 Degrees of John Keel at 6degreesofjohnkeel.com. It's a 6 as a numeral and the rest of it's spelled out all together. I just made a list of people that I'm going to start interviewing because I'm going to start it back up. So I have someone scheduled, my first guest, and you'll be seeing some more good stuff coming out very soon.
Awesome. And AP?
You can find me on Blue Sky for the socials and Instagram. I'm there as at the AP Strange Show, which is mostly the account for my podcast, The AP Strange Show, which is available on all of your podcast players. And of course, there's also apstrange.com where you can go read my writings.
Nice. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I want to take a moment here to thank all of my patrons, because without you, this show would not exist. I want to give a special shout out to those patrons pledging $10 or more: Greg Ross, Cherry Trapezoid, John Blackburn, Madeline J., Mark Smith, Marty Garza, Matt in Delaware, Tactical Therapist, Allison Cook, Super Inframan, 36 Dingo, Tim, Andrew Nichols, Matthew Sproul, Marthartha, Tyler Glimstead, Christine, Abby Allen, Patricia Giaquinta, American Rambler, Andrew Maines, Ann Witowski, Barbara Fisher, Beverly Williamson, Bluminati, Bright Rectangle, Charles Davis, Charles in Florida, Land of the Crazy and Communicable, Diane B., Empty K, Eric Citron, Eric Todd, History and Coffee, Jay, Jack Huntington, James Lindsay, Janet's Planet, Jim and Sophie, John Mattingly, John Bracken, Jonathan Frost, Carla Mahoney, Kevin Shrek, Cool Kitty, Kristen L., Laser Printer Jam, Lauren McLean, Liam Huddock, Linda from Michigan, Linz Jackson K., MJ Armstrong, Mark Shoemaker, Mark Brady, Mothman Bren, Automation, Paul Jeffries, Perry Peters, Philosopher of Mirrors, Riker and Stark, Ron Dupre, Sam Sharon, Schmooples, Devourer of Mortal Souls, Seed Person, Stacy Sherwood, Strange Stories with the Seeker and Skeptic podcast, Taylor Bell, The Ghost Story Guys, Thunderboy, Varoche K, Victoria, Vincent Trewell, Will Cherry, Will Powell, Annabelle Smith, Caroline Walker, TDT Skunkworks, Colin Karras, Craig Sagastumi, and Matthew Brown. Thank you all so very, very much for making this show possible. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. There is a Patreon extra segment, of course, for the show. If you're not a patron and you'd like to become one, you can do so at wheredidtheroadgo.com and just click on the big Patreon link. I do want to welcome a couple of new Patreons this week, Daniel Haskins and Kate. Welcome aboard. I hope you find stuff to your liking. There's also a chat room in there. In case anyone who is a patron doesn't realize it, there is a chat room. It's not the easiest thing to find on there, but it is on there, and people do have discussions on there. There's, of course, also the Discord, which I don't check anywhere near as much as I want to. Just don't have a lot of time for social media, unfortunately, but if you tag me on something, I will be notified and take a look. And speaking of the apocalypse, I also do a music show, and it's called The Last Exit for the Lost, and the tagline on it is Underground Apocalyptic... I'm sorry, the tagline is actually Apocalyptic Underground Radio. I got it wrong. And that's why I used apocalypse, all the stuff we talked about here of, the opening of the eyes, exposing people to new music, basically. Stuff you're not going to hear elsewhere. So that's always my goal with that show. And I liked using the apocalyptic imagery for it because it just felt fitting. Plus, some of the music has a very apocalyptic feel. Anyway, you can find that at www.thelastexit.org. For a quote this week to end the show, I don't think I've used this one. It's one of my favorite quotes from C.S. Lewis, who is a Christian apologist. As many people know some of his fiction, he wrote some great books on Christianity, including the Screw Tape Letters, which is fiction, but also has some very interesting things to say. But this came from Miracles, and it says, "A society where the simple may obey, the few seers can live. A society where all were seers could live even more fully. But society where the mass is still simple, and the seers are no longer attended to, can achieve only superficiality, baseness, ugliness, and in the end, extinction. On or back we must go. To stay here is death." And I will see you next time. You have been listening to Where Did the Road Go? This show is made possible in part from our Patreons, and we thank you and everyone listening for helping us continue this exploration of the strange. You can always find everything Where Did the Road Go related at www.wheredidtheroadgo.com. And thank you so much for your support.